Okay, so we got all kinds of vocals here. Background vocals, lead vocals, even I sang on the track. Okay, so let's look at the background vocals.
But we don't own a thing anymore, and that's how we like it. Another piece of life.
On the background vocals bus. So high pass filter first, about 100 hertz, and then some compression.
Ages over ages and I'm done. This a bell that cannot be unrung. The ghosts are all that we create anymore, and desperately looking.
And some compression on the background vocals bus as well. So probably hitting this guy a little harder than I normally do.
It helps to turn a profit. Something in your hands is on a bird.
When those oohs come in, it's maybe going about 2 decibels. So we have this ooh background vocal here, which is a few vocals all summed onto one track. I did have them individually, I was provided that, but I chose to just use this instead. And here's what I did. I panned it somewhat over to the right side, and then I put this analog EQ on, and this is a trick I picked up from, I think it was from the mix engineer Joe Carroll. So all credit to him, and this is something where you can really inject some life into something. It's not an every track trick, but every once in a while when you need something, this can help you out to inject some energy. So you take an analog EQ like this, 4 bands, and you sort of pick some frequencies that roughly go along the whole spectrum, right? So we have 200 hertz, 700 hertz, 5 kilohertz, and 12.5 kilohertz for low mids, high mids, and high frequency. And then I'm boosting by a lot, right? So we have 9 decibel boost on each one. And then I'm turning down the output by about the same amount. So I actually only turned the output down 7.3 decibels. So for the purpose of this example, I'm going to turn it down to 9, just so there's no level increase, and then we're going to hear the difference. So on. Right, so that's injecting a lot of life into it. By doing a big boost and then compensating on the output, you're basically getting the color character of this EQ unit. So if you did it with a different type of EQ, like an SSL or something like that, then you would end up with something different. Or Neve, let's say, you would end up with a different result. And the different frequencies you pick, of course, make a big difference as well.
Anymore, that's how we like it. Another piece of life to pay rent for.
So there's not a lot going on the individual tracks. This one here has a little bit of an LA2A compressor, just tapping lightly. So we have this part in the chorus, this response.
But we don't own a thing anymore, and that's how we like it.
This part here, right? So I'm doing some heavy filtering here and boosting in the mid-range here to squeeze that part into the middle to sound like that sort of thing. So that sounds pretty cool. Okay, so let's have a look at the lead vocal. So first of all, we have some RVox, a little bit of compression on there.
Moving from the garage to the bedroom, from the bedroom to the internet,
And a bit of saturation.
Stuck in parallax. Nothing moving, nothing standing still. From the
So if we
bedroom
bypass
to
this
the
compression
internet,
and saturation, we'll do this.
Stuck in parallax. Nothing moving, nothing standing still.
Then we're onto the lead vocal bus here, and we just have a bit of high passing, a bit of control of the lower mids here. So the muddy region here.
Nothing standing still.
Just a bit of dynamic control.
Yeah.
And a boost here with a bit of dynamic cut. And then a cut here in the mid-range as well. So just pulling that back a little bit. Next up, a bit more compression.
But we don't own a thing anymore. Another piece of life to pay rent for.
On.
But we don't own a thing anymore. Another piece of life to pay rent for.
Then the SSL channel just to hit a bit of compression here.
Life to pay rent for. But holding something in your hands is on a burning page. It's the end of the CD.
Then a Pultec EQ, boosting some 10 kilohertz and a little bit of 100 hertz on the bottom, just to try to get a little bit more fullness on the voice. So,
grinning as we dispossess our past. 3 a.m. for coffee and for turnovers. How could anyone resist that?
Then the Tube Tech with a quicker release.
Stuck in parallel, swimming underwater and no rest.
A bit more saturation here with Decapitator.
And
but I've got the mix knob turned down a little bit here.
any way to tell, chapter 1 and you all know the rest. But
just a bit more presence on the voice. And then a bit of a squeeze here with MV2. So bringing down the loudest stuff and bringing up the quietest stuff.
But we don't own a thing anymore.
And I'm getting some level out of this too because I'm not turning it down.
Another piece of life to pay rent for. But holding something in your hands is on a burning pit.
So that'll make it a few decibels louder. And then just a bit of limiting on the end, just taking off about a decibel of peaks just to keep it more consistent. And then we've got a bit of a parallel chain here mixed in with an 1176 compressor and a decapitator going into that.
Ages over ages and I'm done.
So in.
This bell that cannot be unrung. But ghosts are all that we create anymore.
So a more consistent vocal. And then we've got some effects as well. So we've got the microshift, H3000, eventide, harmonizer type of thing. Right?
Desperately looking for a song I'd never sung, but we don't
A bit of quick delay.
anymore. Another piece of life to pay rent for. But we don't own a thing anymore.
A bit of plate reverb here with an impulse response. And then I thought the vocals needed a little bit more of a group feel. So 2 a.m. was okay with me adding some vocals, so I recorded some vocals of my own. So we're adding this in, not very loud, because I don't want it to be obvious that there's another voice there. It's just to fill it out, right?
Another piece of life to pay rent for. It helps to turn a profit, but holding something.
So let's have a listen to all the vocals just with the instrumental muted.
Something in your hands is on a burning pit.
Let's go to the end here where it's the thickest.
Never sung, but we don't own a thing anymore.
So my vocals.
That's how we like it. Another
Just getting mixed in, all in the middle here, layered up, but not very loud and not affected, not compressed, not processed like the lead vocal is, right? So this is my level, and this is her lead level.
And holding something in your hand.
Right, so quite a bit louder. And then I should mention there's also this unison track here, which I've muted later on in the song. But I put this doubling effect on the unison double track here. So if we bypass,
Way to tell.
so it's just sort of thinning it out
Way to tell.
and spreading it.
Bucks and jewels into Lake Michigan. Grinning.
So yeah, what else is there? I mean, there's some automation on the main rhythm guitars here. So when the second verse starts, they sort of come down in level to give a little bit of a dynamic change. So we have this. And then beginning of the second verse, we come down. Right?
Grinning as we dispossess our past.
And then we have it coming back up for the chorus or the pre-chorus.
That laugh. that.
And of course there's some automation of the lead vocal, which I often like to do. So this is just the level of the lead vocal throughout the song, so it's coming up here in this part.
Holding something in your hands is on a burning page. It's the end of the CD age.
So when you do it right, you'd be surprised how much you can get away with sometimes, and I mean that just sounds right to me. It doesn't sound like it's turning up nearly as much as it is. It just sounds like it should, really. So that's pretty much it. Other than that, there's just a little bit of a mastering chain right on the end, so a little bit of limiting here into the ozone plugin, and we're doing a bit of EQ, so boosting up the subs, killing the low mids just a little bit. This is like a decibel at the most. Boosting up the mid-range a little bit, and a little bit more top end as well. And then just spreading out some of the low mids and higher frequencies a bit while narrowing the low bass. And then just a bit of the stabilizer, dynamic EQ, and the final maximizer on the old school IRC2 mode. So yeah, that's about all there is. Great song. Check out 2 AM. Really enjoyed doing this. Pleasure to mix. Hopefully I'm going to have time to do a few more songs from this album because there's a lot to examine here. Hopefully there's a lot to teach and a lot to absorb. Remember, we got links down low. If you need mixing, I'm available, of course. My website is there. We've got examples. I offer all kinds of services. I know people that do just about anything you could need, so contact me. So yeah, really enjoyed showing you this, and hopefully you learned something and you'll be back next time. We'll see ya.